Hey guys, what's up? It's me, Jack. Today I'm going to show you my Gardevoir EX deck list for Atlanta Regionals 2025. So let's get into it. I think Gardevoir right now is actually really powerful. It has quite a variety of attackers. Here's the Gardevoir line. You have 3 Monkey Dory, which is really great. I play a Klefki. Klefki is just really strong right now in the meta with all the Ogre-Pons, the Fan Rotoms running around. Starting Klefki could totally shut down your opponent. And I see that a lot of people are starting to play the Poison deck. Klefki is super good against that. I use Klefki a lot to sort of stall them out and build up my board. Because as soon as you start establishing Gardevoir, the deck becomes extremely powerful and extremely hard to beat. Clefairy, Mew, Drifloon, Bidoof, and of course, Pheasantipity. So here's my Pokemon line. A lot of one-ofs, but like I said, this deck is super strong because it's so versatile. You have options like Screamtail or Clefairy if you're against Dragon-type decks. Bidoof if you're against decks that play a lot of items like Goldango. Drifloon if you're against decks that can't really be one-shot without falling apart like Archaludon. And Mew is super nice just as a attacker surprise. They don't really, sometimes your opponent will leave a Pokemon in the active and you'll just be like, cool, I win because I have Mew and I can just copy your big attack. So Mew's been really good. Also, it draws cards and has free retreat. So that's my Pokemon line. Let's look at the supporters. And I do not play Arven. Arven is kind of slow now. I prefer this just like the Miyagi list. We came to the same conclusion. Just mostly draw supporters. We have one boss, and that's it. No Arven, so this is a blind first Gardevoir. You're going to always pick first if you win the coin flip because you're relying on evolving your Gardevoir with a rare candy turn 2 or getting some Kirlias out, but you want to be the guy that goes first so you can evolve and do your stuff faster than your opponent. I don't play evolution in here. I don't think evolution is fast enough right now for this format, and I much more prefer these draw supporters, especially Morty's Conviction. Morty's Conviction is such a strong card right now. There's a lot of underdepth decks going around, and I'm on average drawing 4 cards with card, which is great. You know, obviously research is a little stronger because you draw 7, but with Morty, sometimes you want cards. Sometimes you have like a boss and a counter catcher in your hand. You don't want to discard those because you're playing a matchup where Gus is super needed. So Morty's kind of helps. You can still draw a good amount of cards and keep your hand. And that's the supporters. And here's some of my ball search. It's actually kind of low, but I play 2 Artisan. Like I said, this is very close to the Miyagi list. The Miyagi list is super good, and I think that should be the Gardevoir skeleton moving forward. This looks like a little, especially without Arven, but I have had no problem setting up my Ralts and my Gardevoir and getting out any of the basics I need to with this amount of search, so not a big deal. Also, Artisan is kind of funny in this deck because your opponent likes to use Artisan too, and that helps your Morty. Now, I wouldn't play Artisan though if it's turn 1 and your opponent doesn't really have much, and you're just like, let's play Artisan and get another basic when I don't really need it. Don't do that. You're gonna help your opponent out. All you want to do is slow your opponent down as much as possible so you can set up your board full of Guardies and attackers, because once you establish that with this deck, the deck is so strong. It's so strong, and that's why I like Gardevoir right now. So, of course, we're playing 3 Rare Candy, Secret Box. Secret Box is the A-Spec to play in Gardevoir. There's no other A-Spec that even competes with Secret Box right now. It is so good. I know we have Blender, but Secret Box is just better. Earthen Vessel, 3 Night Stretcher, 2 Counter Catcher, of course, and 2 Bravery Charm, and then we'll round it out with the Energy, which is just going to be 3 Dark and 7 Psychic. like I said, very close to Miyagi list. I'm not playing the third Bravery Charm. That is a card that I have kind of wanted. It's kind of my 61st card, but I haven't really needed, right? You can get by with 2 Bravery Charm if you just play a little smarter. All right, so I'm going to actually discuss some matchups, and I will go through the, I guess, how to set up with this deck, kind of what you want based on what you're playing against. I will also, of course, lay out the list for you guys to look at and study as I talk. So that way you guys can kind of memorize the list, build it for yourself, maybe take a screenshot. I will post the digital image of the deck list on my Metafy in the chapter. You can go ahead and go to my Metafy and look at that for free. Sorry, I will organize this a little bit better. And let's see. Sorry, I'll organize this just a little bit better. Trying to, maybe I can speed through this. No, I don't know how to edit that well. I am getting better, hopefully, at video production. Thanks for bearing with me. I know my first 2 videos were a little rough. I'm always trying to improve. I hope that there's no glare. I'm trying to fix the glare this time around. And I really hope that you guys can see all of these cards. But like I said, my Metafy is free. You can just follow the link, sign up, and buy the guide for no money. And have it all that I'm talking about here, the deck list, everything that you want out of this, you can get for free on my Metafy. And I really appreciate the support. There's actually been way more people than I ever would have thought would even give me any attention for my knowledge on Pokemon. I just like the game, and this really helps me stay objective and test more effectively, which is exactly what I was needing to do better. And I'm sorry once again, I'm just trying to figure this out. I don't usually lay out lists like this, but I just want to get it all in frame and so that you can see it. Hopefully you can see those Earthen Vessels up there next to the Bravery Charms. Play 2 Earthen Vessel and 2 Bravery Charm. There we go. Okay, I think I got it. Hopefully you guys can all see that. But that is my list. So let's go through some card exclusions or card considerations that I'm not playing in this list. So first of all, like I said, Miyagi list. Second, Badoo. I don't think we need 2 Badoo right now. Badoo is really strong, but a lot of decks are going more supporter based. And like I said, Klefki is so important right now. It slows down your opponent, and it can help you build your board as your opponent gasps for air to try to get something going. Kind of a play that you do with Klefki is you can boss or gust up their Latias, and they have to attach twice because Latias is turned off when Klefki's active. That's really nice. But keep in mind, if you do have Klefki active, you can't Monkey Dory on your side either. It turns off every basic ability. Squawkabilly. Now, the Squawkabilly, or the Miyagi finalist said it was an extremely important card, but we have to remember that Miyagi was a best of 1 format where variance is way more prevalent. Best of 3, we can trade a little bit of consistency, like in the form of Squawkabilly, for wider meta prep, or as I like to call it, text, so we can play more text. So that allows us to kind of be a little bit more creative, a little bit more innovative, less objective with our list, because we have that buffer of best of 3. So if we have one game where we just don't set up, and that's the first game of the series, well, the next 2, if we do set up, we'll still win the round, right? Now, I also just don't like Squawk. It sits on the bench, and half the time I don't even feel like I need it. Actually, more than half the time. I would say 80% of the time I never need it. 20% of the time I definitely have a bad hand, and I'm like, ooh, this looks kind of rough. But of that 20%, I draw out of it 90% of the time. So I would say, okay, I'm getting a little mathy here, but I probably could use Squawkabilly effectively 10%. 10% of the games I've played so far with this list, I could use Squawk. But then, once I use it, it's just a big liability. There's times where I bench the wrong thing, and it sits on my bench because it doesn't go away because you don't play Turo. And then your opponent just waits until you can knock it out. Like I played against a Goldango, and I put down a Mew, and I shouldn't have put down a Mew, and they're just like, I win because I get to boss Mew. My whole other board was stuff that they couldn't kill, but they could kill Mew. And Squawkabilly is even squishier than Mew, so that's kind of why I'm just trying to get away from it. I don't feel like it was needed. But the Miyagi finalists that played that list that I based this list off of did say it was really important. Like I said, pretty sure that's because it's a best of one. Squawk is definitely more important best of one than best of three. Miyagi also did not play a boss. I think boss is way too good, especially with Klefki. Like I said, with the Latias play, I just think boss needs to be in the deck. There's a lot of times where you can't counter catcher because you're way ahead, and you'd rather just boss something and take another 2 prizes than let them feed you a 1 prizer, and then you can't really get too far ahead to where you can't lose, you know? They give you a 1 prizer, maybe you go down to 1 prize, and they can Iono and kill your only Guardy or something like that. Boss is just there to prevent that. And like I said, third charm, that's another part of Miyagi. It is my biggest consideration. It is important for Drifloon streaming. Drifloon is super good right now. It helps you against Archaludon, it helps you against Goldango and Gardevoir and stuff like that. But I think you can get by with 2. All right, so let's talk about the matchups. For this video, I wanted to actually be a little bit more specific with the matchups. I think I kind of just jumbled it all together and said, here's the deck last time. But I want to get a little bit more specific so you guys know exactly how I play the deck, my philosophy, and hopefully I can teach you guys how to play it better as well. So I grouped all the Noctowl decks together. I just call them Noctowl decks. We know what they are. The Raging Bolt, Terrabox, and Terrapagos is the big 3 Noctowl decks right now. Let's start with Raging Bolt. So Raging Bolt is the hardest of the Noctowl decks. It gets up very fast. It can knock you out. It can, if they can successfully gust up your Ralts and just keep knocking them out, you're just never going to win. You need to get the Guardy out. That is a big weakness with this deck. If you don't get Guardy out, obviously it's just a pile. But you usually get Guardy out because that's what this deck is geared toward with all the draw supporters. However, Raging Bolt is hard because they get going so quickly, and it punishes a slow start for any deck, especially Guardy. Obviously, it's a Dragon-type Pokemon, so you can use Clefairy to give the Raging Bolt's weakness, and you can knock them out with Gardevoir. And you want to just throw big stuff like Gardevoir at them, so they have to take more energy, and you can Iono them and stuff. And a great play is when you can kill a Fez with a Gardevoir, plus a Monkey Dory, plus a counter catcher, and then you follow that all up with an Iono, and you're able to kill the Fez, throw up something with 310 HP, which they need 5 energy to kill, and they don't get to draw any cards, especially if their Noctowls are gone, right? So my game plan overall in the Raging Bolt is just try to come out swinging and try to take the first 2 prizes. It's not as bleak as I'm making it sound, but it is bad if you start slow. Terrabox, I haven't really had too much struggle into. You just got to survive the Wellspring, which isn't the hardest. You can set up a Monkey Dory. They can only do 100 to Monkey Dory, so you can prevent them from taking 2 prizes, which is fine. That gives you enough time, because once you get a Gardevoir out, you're pretty rocking. You're gonna likely win the game once you get your Gardevoir rolling. Once you get 1 Gardevoir out too, it kind of helps you have some more agency to get another one later, because they're gonna have to focus on killing the attackers instead of killing your Guardy. So you can just set up multiple Guardy, and Guardy just one-shots everything with a Monkey Dory in play. It does 220 if you transfer Monkey Dory off, or you transfer the damage off with Monkey Dory from Gardevoir. And they can't kill a Gardevoir. They can kill it if it has 10 on it with a Pikachu, but you just be mindful of that, and you keep that damage off of Guardy. Now Terapagos is kind of in the middle. I said Raging Bull was hard and Terror Box is easy. Well, Terapagos is right in the middle because that Bouffalant, which gives it as so much power, is really annoying for Guardy. Luckily, you have Monkey Dory. You can put damage on it. You can put, like, if you have 2 Monkey Dory, you can transfer 60, and then the Bouffalant's essentially nullified, right? Drifloon is the MVP because Drifloon, like I said, could just one-shot Terapagos. And keep in mind that Terapagos can't KO Guardy or a Charm Fez, so make sure if you do put down a Fez, you put a Charm on it, and try to avoid putting down a Mew because it doesn't seem great. Try to avoid putting down a Clefairy if you're not taking a knockout with it because they're going to easily boss that up and kill it. You want to limit your board to where either they got to go through a Guardy with a 2-shot or a 1-prizer. And also, against any Terapagos deck, watch out for the Briar play. Some of them don't play it, but just keep it in mind. That can really catch you off guard, especially if you're going the 1-prizer route. You know, they can take 4 prizes somehow, and then you're like, okay, cool, I feed them a 1-prizer, maybe they're out of boss, they have a Hoot on the bench, I'm good, I win, right? And now you're at 2. Well, they can play Briar and just win out of nowhere, so just keep that in mind as you're playing against Terapagos and other decks that may play Briar. And of course, against any Noctowl deck, you just want to try to get the Klefki out ASAP. You don't always hit it, but if you do, send it active, and it's assuredly going to be annoying for them and slow them down, which is really nice. Okay, now let's move to Archaludon. Just keep in mind, Archaludon, most of them are playing the poison package. It's going to happen. You're going to get donked sometimes. Don't let it rattle you in a best of 3. You get donked one game, you go to the next game, right? You just move forward. It's annoying, I know. But if you do have a Ralts and a Screamtail in your hand, you can just start Ralts, Screamtail, or if you have 2 Ralts, you can just start both Ralts. Right now, if you're going into a deck blind, you don't know what it is, and you have 2 basics in your hand, and they're like reasonable to play down, start with both of them on the field, just to avoid any chance of donk, because if you start 2 basics, they're not donking you, right? And if they don't donk you, like I said, you can always go Klefki. It shuts off all of that. Plus, if they do knock out something active, but you have another bench, you can just counter catcher up like one of their 3 retreaters, like Brute Bonnet, and they can't really deal with that. Honestly, that's really obnoxious for them. They have to try to boss around that, and then they have to burn a boss for not too much of a gain. And them putting down Latios makes Gardevoir take an easy 2 prizes on it later. So, obviously, Monkey is great. Archaludon hits weakness on Clefairy, so keep that in mind. But it does not hit weakness on like a Fez or a Mew or a Gardevoir. So if you have a Charm on your Fez or your Mew, they're not one-shotting it without Mochi or Poison, which they usually have Poison, but still. That's something to keep in mind in case you're not playing against an Archaludon that's playing the Poison package. What I typically do, I like to wall them with Guardy, and then I can use Monkey to move the damage off. If you get 3 Monkey Dories down, it's crazy. It's 280. You can transfer damage off of things over the course of the game with Monkey to set up the Archaludon to get one-shot by Guardy. Or you can just tank with Guardy and do a bunch of damage and take 2 shots on them. Drifloon, of course, against any Archaludon deck, MVP, so good. You just want to keep streaming those if you can. And just keep in mind, some Archaludon poison decks will play an Ursaluna. They can hit 310 and KO a Guardy. It will be the Mochi, the Blood Moon attack, and the Stadium for 310. And of course, Poison turns off Fez if they get knocked out. If you get knocked out from Poison, so keep that in mind as well. Otherwise, I found that this matchup isn't too hard if you can just survive the first couple turns and slow them down with Klefki. Once you get some Gardevoir going, it gets pretty difficult for them. So now for Mirror can get a little tricky. Attacking with Guardy is usually the way I go about it, but you can also use Drifloon and Charm. Monkey is absolutely key, of course. Monkey is honestly the MVP in this deck. It's so good. But Guardy's going to pick off basic 2-prizers if they can. So be careful when you put down Mew, be careful when you put down Fez, be careful when you put down Clefairy. Make sure that when you're putting those down, they don't have the chance to just boss it up and knock it out. And typically, the key part is you just hopefully Badoo first. If you can Badoo first, you're going to slow them down. First person to get their Guardy out and start taking prizes usually wins. All right, Dragapult. Dragapult's a really important matchup to know. I have found that this matchup is favorable due to the Clefairy ability. Try not to ignore the Dusknoir lines, though, as they're the only way that they can OKO a Guardy. So they'll pop the Dusknoir, do 130, and then they'll knock you out with Dragapult. Keep that in mind. Obviously, try to establish a couple Monkey Dories so you can transfer off any of that Phantom Dive bench damage as you can. They will usually spread it out, so it's not 60 on one thing that's easy to transfer off with Monkey. So it is kind of annoying for them. It's a little less efficient for them if you have the Monkey online. So that's even the presence of Monkey slows them down a little bit, which is great. Another big play is, especially to keep in mind, is Mew. Mew can copy Dragapult and kill a Duskull on the bench with Clefairy out for a 3-prize turn. Keeping the Duskulls off the field is super important because they are going to combo the heck out of you if you let them do it. So keeping them away from that is really, really important. Badoo is okay. I usually don't like Badoo right now because most lists now are playing Jock or Brock, and it just becomes kind of a liability. Now, obviously, you can like Bravery Charm it, but I think I would rather say that for like a Drifloon or maybe like a bench sitter. Goldango, of course, Drifloon, MVP by far. You want to knock out those Goldangos if you can. I wouldn't bench Mew or Clefairy. Klefki is, of course, useless, so those 3, keep them off the bench if you can. They're going to just take up a lot of space, and especially the 2-prizers. That's going to be an easy 2 prizes for Goldango. Monkey, super good. Drifloon with 80 damage on it, plus a Monkey ability for 20 is 260. So you can keep your Drifloon alive from a Revenge Monkey Dory if you were damaging Goldangos over the course of the game, because they play Monkey Dory themselves. So you can just put 80 on the Drifloon with a Charm on it, keep it away from 1 Monkey Dory Adrenabrain knockout, and also kill a Goldango, which is really big swing. Monkey attack is also, I found, very good. You can, if you have a Dark Energy, you've been transferring Monkey Dory, you can go Gardevoir, put 20, and then Adrenabrain to the Goldango, and then hit them for 60 and confuse them, so they'll have 80 on them, and they'll be confused. Them being confused is actually kind of a pain in the butt for them, because they don't really have, like, some of them play Switch, but most of them don't anymore. They play, like, Turo, or they can just attach and retreat. It's a pain in the butt. They can definitely get around it. It's not like a lock or anything, but putting 80 on a Goldango lets you knock it out with Gardevoir later, which is what you want to do, because they need 7 energy for a full HP Gardevoir to knock it out, which is a lot of resources for them. And of course, if you drain their resources, Badoo always becomes a win condition if they have no way of getting energy back. Also, if you are attacking with a Monkey, make sure that it's at 110 HP or more, so that they can't just discard 2. They have to discard 3 to take 1 prize. It's really strong. But with the Badoo lock, going back to the Badoo lock, a lot of them play Recursion. A lot of them know like what this is about now. Just keep an eye on the resources as you play. Sometimes they hide stuff, like a Lavencia. If you don't see a Lavencia, they might get you with it if you try to Badoo. If they have 1 prize and you're kind of behind and they've been taking prizes, you're like, Badoo's my only way out. Here we go, Badoo. They might just drop a Lavencia, attach their last medal, and knock you out. So keep that in mind as well. But otherwise, it's a pretty simple matchup. You just want to start swinging. They're going to be slower than you because they use Evolution, and you don't. You're just trying to get Guardy out as fast as possible. So Monkey Dory is pretty special play though. Monkey Dory is really annoying, so try it out, see if that works. But that's what I've been doing. And of course, anything that plays dark Pokemon, dark attackers, is going to be hard. Zoroark is nearly an auto loss. I haven't found a good way to handle that. You can monkey attack to confuse them and force them to put down a Pecharunt so you can later kill it with a Gardevoir, maybe at the end. Screamtail, I think, is the best route, where you just Screamtail their Reshiram or their Darmanitan, keep them off the bench, make them have to keep using their Night Stretchers. If they have to discard a Night Stretcher early, then you can definitely go in and try to get the Reshiram off the bench so that they only can attack with Darmanitan, and then you can just evolve all your stuff, and then they're not one-shotting you. And if that happens, you can probably win the game, but it's hard for that to happen every game because they're usually evolving to Zoroark, attaching to it, and then bossing up Gardevoir as soon as they can to knock out your Gardevoirs. So it is difficult. I've seen there's a new deck going around, Poison Roaring Moon, also Poison package. So Klefki is huge. Klefki's going to slow him down a lot. Single prize attackers are always good into Roaring Moon. They are going to play a lot of two-prizers, so just capitalize on that. They are never going to Frenzy Gouging anything, so Monkey Dory, don't think that you can Adrena Brain and get a knockout that way. Your best attackers are probably Clefairy, or Screamtail, or especially Drifloon, always. Keep in mind that if they have no stadiums in play, they're not killing Gardevoir. They're doing 200 because they need to discard a stadium to one-shot it, so you might be able to use that to your advantage. It is kind of hard, though, because they're playing Dark-type attackers, so. But Klefki, just start to Klefki, slow him down. Charizard's pretty difficult. Badoo is your go-to. You want to just Badoo them so they have to slowly build up their board. If I don't know really what Charizard's playing now, I think it's likely still Prime Catcher, probably maybe Secret Box. Badoo stops that. They're likely going to be playing Rare Candies. Badoo's going to put a stop to that too. Badoo's going to slow him down. Drifloon, obviously, you can put 5 on Drifloon with a Charm, and then Monkey 3 to one-shot the Zard. Mew EX can copy Zard late and knock him out. I would target Pidgeot, Screamtail with a Charm on it. Does 240, so you might be able to Monkey and move some damage around to kill the Pidgeot. That will help you late game with the Ionos if you're able to knock out a Charizard and remove the Charizard from their board and the Iono. That helps a lot. That may actually give you a chance. Obviously, keep the Dusknoir off the board as much as you can. And watch out for Briar, because Briar will totally screw you. But that's about it for Gardevoir. I realized that the light didn't turn on. It turned on last time, so hopefully you guys can see it. But I think that's all the big matchups. This is a really strong deck. It's one of my top considerations for the tournament, and I hope that this list you guys can use at locals, or if you're going to Atlanta, you can definitely play this list. That's why I posted it for free. And I think this is the strongest iteration of Gardevoir that is available right now. So go ahead, try it out, let me know. My messages are always open. You can always either comment on my YouTube video, send me a message on Twitter at Jace_TCG, or leave a comment on Medify. I don't know how to do that, but if you can, go ahead. I will get a notification. I'll respond to you. Always able to give advice and gauge questions. So thanks for watching, and that'll be it for me. Thank you.